Chokes, traps, spreads, and gutters. And this is one of our big updates in SimpleSeps SmartRIP 4.0. Actually, I believe SimpleSeps is the only solution with automated custom chokes, spreads, traps, and gutters in the screen printing industry at this point in time. This is really one of the things we wanted to put together to really help with the automation of the different things that we like to do with our separations and actually need to do with our color separations in screen printing. I guess to break this down in the most simple terms, if you look at it, chokes contract, spreads expand, traps expand one color over another color, and then we'll get into gutters here in just a minute. But let's go ahead and zoom in and take a closer look here. A choke, and I've set up a graphic here, and let's say that this yellow is actually white, and we're going to choke our white base. Well, that would mean pushing our white base, or what's represented as yellow here, back a couple of pixels to where we see the black here, moving it back or contracting it. We do that because as screen printers, when we print on colored or dark garments, typically we first use a white base. If we choke back a little bit, then when we print our color over, on top here we won't get any of the white base peeking through. It also makes it easier to register against our white base when we use choking. Spreads expand the color separation. So where we have our color here, which would be the yellow, a spread would expand it out a couple of pixels to where we see the edge of the black here. We might use that in the SimpleSeps logo, for example. Let's say if we're printing this, we want to spread the yellow and the orange so that when we print the black, it just comes over the top of those colors just a little bit. We could do the same with the green in the text here, or we could trap here. Now trap's a little bit different in that trap expands one color over another color. So the trap would actually take the black here and push it over the yellow. A little bit different than a spread, but they kind of work the same. You can use them. It depends on the circumstance. Typically, I would opt for a spread when it's available because that won't change the outline or the shape, I guess you could say, or the size or the amount of black in the text. That wouldn't actually go through. The trap would actually go through and make the inside of the text a little bit smaller. But there are circumstances where you want to use a trap. Now, gutters are seams in the white base for solid color butt registration printing. And butt registration printing is color directly next to color. There's no spread or trap. And sometimes when you print, for example, I've simulated here printing solid red next to solid yellow, these two colors will mash together and smear a little bit and blend into an orange. But what we can do is we can put a gutter or a seam, for example. Here's a simulation of a white base separation as black here. And you can see that seam would be there, and then the red and the yellow would go into that seam. I've got some graphics to help clarify that a bit here. You know, when we push ink through a screen with a squeegee, with pressure, it tends to expand a little bit, as we can see here. Well, what happens is when we're printing butt registration directly on top of a white base, these two inks can start to get mixed and pushed together or smear. However, if we put a gutter in the white base or a seam, the ink will go down into the gutter as opposed to pushing into the red or the yellow and mixing. A couple of different benefits to this. You get a cleaner graphic and you get actually a better hand on your garment, a softer hand on the garment. You don't have an edge or a bump where those two colors come together. Now, take a look at how we can automate all of this in SimpleSeps. We'll go ahead and take a look at a couple of different graphics here. I'm going to go to Windows. I'll come here to Untitled 1. Here I've got that SimpleSeps logo. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and open SimpleSeps. We'll go to Advanced Tools here. Remember, in X7, you'll need to go to the Docker if you're working in X7. Go to my color management. Make sure this is all Pantone colors first. Create selection palette. I'll just go ahead and look at my names here. Yep, this is all already Pantone. So I'll go to my separations here. I'll go to halftones. And for demonstrative purpose here, what I'll do is I'll take a white base. I'll generate that as untinted, and I'll give that a 2-pixel choke. Now, you could give it more here, but I think 2 to 4 really is going to be the max that you're ever going to use. On my green, I'll give that a trap, and I'll make that trap with the Pantone Hexachrome Black. Now, one thing you need to realize about your traps, if this was a blend of red to yellow and you trapped this green, where the end of the green came through and the yellow began, there'd be a black line there because it would trap that color completely with black. It's a trap. Next thing I'll do is I'll come down here. I'm not going to do anything with the white highlight. I'll leave that alone. And I'm just going to go ahead and spread the yellow and the orange, and I'll select all black for my film output. I'll go ahead and click on Generate Separations, and SimpleSeps will create my separations with my choke base, my trap for my green, and the spread on my orange and my yellow. Now, once SimpleSeps has finished processing that, let's go ahead and take a look. Go ahead and zoom in here. First thing I'll take a look at here, as you can see, here's our trap. And this is a little bit different color in our Pantone. We just did this so that you could identify these in your halftone preview. Now you can see that this, if I select this, and we'll zoom in here, and this looks kind of choppy, but it's just as smooth as vector, but you have to realize we're looking at like 1/1000th of an inch right here. So this is absolutely clean graphics. It just looks choppy because it's been rasterized or raster image processor ripped. If I select this and delete it, you can see that the black actually goes out over the green just a little bit there. Now that looks like a lot here, but it's just a little bit when you zoom out and look at the actual size of the graphic. But yet this trap has only been applied around the green. It hasn't been applied to all the black, just where the green is. It's a trap of the green. The other thing we'll notice here, and I'll actually go to my object manager here, is that if we go to our orange here and we just copy this, we paste it, we can see that that's been spread. I'll hit Control Z to delete that, and you can see that that now is underneath. Actually, we can go to View Wireframe here. We can see that underneath there. It's been spread under the black. So when we print the black, I'm going to go back to View Enhanced. When we print the black, it's going to overlap on the orange just a little bit. Now, these techniques are very useful on long printing runs or if you're dealing with an automatic press that doesn't have micro registrations. Now, if we take a look at our white underbase, and I'll go ahead and copy this. I'll go back to my halftone preview and I'll paste this in. And I'll left click to make the background transparent, and I'll right click to change the black to a cyan here. We can see that we've choked back. So when we print this orange, it's going to print over the white. It's not going to peek through. Now really with this black graphic, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But other graphics, if we didn't have the black and we were just printing the orange, we wouldn't have to worry about the white peeking through because we had choked our white base. So you can see that with SimpleSeps, we have automation of choking, trapping, and spreading, which saves us the time of doing any of these tasks manually, and it's also absolutely precise and accurate to the pixel. Now let's take a look at setting up here for printing with gutters, and I've got another graphic here. We'll go to Window and we'll go to Untitled 2. Now, I already prepped this, and let's say we're going to be printing this as butt registration, other solid color next to solid color, without any spreading or trapping. Go ahead and zoom in here, and we can see you just got a darker blue with a lighter blue. Go ahead here and I'll go to my separations, and I'm going to go here to my raster type and we'll select halftone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a gutter on my Pantone Blue 021C. Now you notice my gutter is not enabled right now. I can't select that. That's because I have to enable my white base. I'll go with untinted. I could choke that too, and I'll give this a gutter of 2 pixels, all black, and I'll click on Generate Separations. And we'll let that process. Now once that's finished processing, I can go to my white base, and if I zoom in here, I will see my gutter right there. Now I can take this and copy this and go back to my halftone preview. I can paste this in, and I can see that I'm going to have a gutter, if I delete that, directly between my blue and my yellow. It's almost as if I've got a second choke in here, but this seam is going to allow the blue ink to pass into that gutter, the same with the darker blue, as opposed to mixing and mashing together. And that's called a gutter. So we can see that SimpleSeps will automate any type of separation customization that we're going to want for the screen printing process for any type of separations, be it butt registration separations with gutters, chokes, traps, spreads, etc. Once again, all of it automated and precisely accurate to the pixel. We'll go ahead and wrap here relating to our session on chokes, traps, spreads, and gutters, and we'll continue in our next training session.